Hi guys, what do you do when you're bored over the Christmas break? Well, you design new cable clips for aluminium extrusion profiles. In this case, it's important to note that I'm talking about so-called 40i type profiles. Of course, there are different profiles, but I think especially in Europe, these 40i type profiles are the most common you will find. So why did I decide to design new clips? I was using clips which you could already find on Thingiverse. So there are different solutions like these ones. They have like a twist-in mechanism. Then there are others like these or those, and also some which have a bit of a smaller footprint. So what was the reasoning to have new clips? Well, all these clips, and I had them in use on my rig, they have certain disadvantages. For instance, if I use these, as you can see, they have quite a big footprint, and if you attach them to the rig, they nicely twist in, that's nice, but sometimes it depends on the size of the extrusion here, if they are really tight or not. So actually, this twist-in mechanism looks good at the first glance, but then has some disadvantages. This one here is way too big, in my opinion, and has basically a slot on the top where you can plug your cables in. That's quite clever, but as I said, if you look at it on the rig, this has a really big footprint and also covers this part here, this gap, and I don't want that. And then this one, this is a clip I used primarily on the rig. This is quite nice because, as you can see here, you can click it in. So it's nicely now in the gap of the extrusion. You cannot really move it, and also it's quite stable. So this clip is already very close to perfection. The problem is it's also too big, and it's very, very hard to get cables into this one because, as you can see here, the opening on the top is quite narrow. Then the other solution here has similar issues. The gap is also quite narrow, so it's difficult to get the cables in. But the advantage here on the profile can be also seen. It goes very nicely into the gap. You can still move it a little bit. This also depends on how far this gap here is. There are some differences in the manufacturing process, but I was also not entirely happy with this one because, as you can see, it's quite difficult to remove. So that's why I came up with these clips. I uploaded all three versions on Thingiverse, and as you can see here, for the three different versions, I have basically variants for only one cable, two cables, 3, 4, and 5. The cables I used here, like a standard cable for determining how big the hole should be, was 7.5 millimeters. Like a standard power plug has roughly 6.5 millimeters. So this should basically fit all the cables you have normally on your rig. The smaller USB cables, of course, they will be not as tightly fixed in the clip, but you will, of course, be able to insert it more conveniently. So what's now the difference between the three different versions here? The first one I called on Thingiverse the strong click clip, difficult name. The second one is the normal click clip, and the third one is the twist clip. I had this version here first, and this is already a very good one, because if you go to the rig, you can see that it clicks very nicely. So now it's in, it's very good. You can still move it. Sometimes, as I said, depends here on the gap. There are differences of 0.1 millimeter which are deciding. But this has a disadvantage that you can basically not remove it anymore. So if I pull here, it's very, very strong. And this sounds like a good feature at first glance, but it's not, because if there are cables inserted, then you will basically not be able to remove the clip anymore, because this can now be only removed by twisting it. So it can be twisted and then it's removed, but by just pulling it doesn't really work. So you have to twist it. All right. So as I said, there are different versions and they all click very nicely in place. The bigger ones here, then they have to be clicked here as well. And then they are also very secure, but you have to twist it. Then I came up with these twist clips here. They of course work also very well. You can insert it and then turn, and then they are in place. But here you can see already the problem. It's very loose, but on other parts of the rig it actually grips very nicely. So if I do it here, maybe here, you can see here it's quite solid. So it's really dependent on the very, very small differences in the gap here of the aluminium profile. But the benefit here, of course, is that it's very easy to insert. And as you can see here, you can plug the cable or insert the cable through this little gap, which you can see here, the little opening. So this allows you maximum flexibility when you have it mounted on the rig already and you don't have to remove the clip when you want to exchange some cables. So that's a big plus. But the problem, as I said, was that sometimes, or depending on where you plug it in, it was not tight enough. So that's why I came up with these, the so-called click clips. And in my opinion, they combine all the good features. So you can see here, for these ones, they look of course very similar to these because I only changed the little feet here. And if I put them on the rig, you will also see that it clicks very nicely. So now it's in, and it still can be moved. And it can be also removed by basically pressing to the sides of the clip. So if you see here, you can just press it and then you can remove it. And especially when there is a cable inserted and then you put it into the aluminium extrusion, then it's even more tightly fixed. So it gives you more security. And of course this one also can be twisted and then removed. Yeah, there are of course also different versions. And yeah, now I'm talking already almost 8 minutes about cable clips, so I think it's time to stop. I hope that you will take advantage of this and print a few for your own rig. As I said, depending on what you want, you can choose one of the 3 versions here or just try them out. Yep. Have fun, guys.